My girlfriend once told me I wasn't wealthy enough to be husband material while pregnant. Now her child's actual father is jobless, and ironically her dad is funding the very dream he once mocked me for. The twist. He tried to legally force me into fatherhood. I asked for a DNA test. Turned out the real dad was none other than her father's trusted associate. As for me, I run a basketball program for troubled teens at the local community center. It's not glamorous or high-paying, but it keeps the lights on and makes a difference. I've been at it for years, and I genuinely love it. Most of the kids remind me of myself, directionless, lacking structure, just trying to make it through. One of the kids I coached early on even made it to the NBA. We still text. Once in a while he sends a message like, "Couldn't have made it without you, coach." That kind of thing hits deeper than any paycheck. My childhood wasn't exactly a fairy tale. Dad bilayed when I was 7, Mom got into trouble, and I spent the rest of my upbringing bouncing between foster homes. At 18, I aged out and lived in my beat-up Ford F-150 for a while. That truck was a wreck, but I bought it myself with my garage job during high school, so it meant everything. That's where Natalie enters the story. We met at a charity basketball event. Her dad's law firm was splashing money around. She worked there too, though it was obvious her job came gift-wrapped from her father, Edward. Natalie never knew what it was like to check her balance before buying anything. She once told me, "You're like this diamond in the rough I found." So raw, so real. Like I was an exhibit from the Museum of Working-Class Struggles. Still, I fell for her. Hard. She lit up when I picked her up, listened to every word I said about the kids I coached, and curled up beside me at night like we'd always belonged together. "You spoil her," Jenna, my best friend and assistant coach, would often say. "She's never worked a day in her life for anything." Jenna and I go way back, met in community college, both chasing athletic scholarships. She's like the sister I never had, funny, brutally honest, and loyal to the core. "She's not better than you just 'cause her heels cost more than your rent," she'd say. "Don't forget, you're the prize here." I'd laugh her off, but deep down, I knew she wasn't wrong. Still, I started saving for a ring. Not flashy, but genuine, 3 months' salary like the cliché goes. I tucked it in my sock drawer, waiting for the right moment. Natalie had been dropping hints. Sending me photos of mansions in neighborhoods I couldn't afford, cracking jokes about her ticking clock, wondering what our future kids would look like. "Do you think I'd be a good dad?" I asked her once. She smiled. "The best. Our kids would be lucky." That word, "our," echoed in my mind for days. I decided I'd propose during my friend Zach's engagement party. It seemed poetic, 2 couples celebrating love on the same night. Zach's party was at a swanky rooftop bar. You know, the kind of place where prices aren't on the menu because if you have to ask, you shouldn't be there. His fiancée came from money, so the guest list was full of people who used summer as a verb. I felt like a fraud in my only decent suit, reserved for interviews and funerals, but Natalie glided through the room like she owned it. Fake laugh, picture-perfect poses, every inch the heiress. "You look like a cat forced into a bubble bath," Jenna said, standing beside me in a simple black dress. Her girlfriend was off networking. "Need rescuing?" she asked. "Nah, just soaking it all in." I patted the ring box in my pocket, thinking tonight's the night. Jenna's eyes widened. "No way, tonight?" "Zach's cool with it. Let me use the mic after the toast." "Well, damn," she said. "You sure? No take-backs on proposals." My phone buzzed before I could answer. One of my kids was spiraling. His dad relapsed again. "Gotta take this," I said to Jenna. "Cover for me?" "Always do, boss." I stepped outside and spent 20 minutes calming the boy down, promising to swing by and get him for practice. When I got back, I avoided the crowd and cut through a quieter section of the venue. That's when I heard her laugh. Natalie was in a side lounge, chatting with coworkers from her dad's firm. "So, when's your boyfriend popping the question?" someone asked. They chuckled. "Can you even imagine?" Natalie said, voice lowered in that gossip tone. "Me marrying Logan, please." I froze, hidden from view. "But you two seem good," a woman replied. "Oh, he's just a phase, Melissa, like your vegan phase, fun but temporary," laughter rippled. "He's sweet, good in bed, and his whole tragic past. People eat that up at dinner parties." She mocked my upbringing like it was entertainment. "But husband material, come on. He coaches street kids, drives a decade-old Jeep, shops at outlets. What would we even talk about at galas? How he helped some inner-city kid do a layup." My hands trembled. The ring felt like lead in my pocket. "My dad would lose his mind if I brought Logan home with a ring. What assets is he bringing? Basketball sneakers and childhood trauma?" They all laughed. "So what's your plan?" Natalie sighed. It's been fun, but it's time to get serious. Brandon, new senior partner, divorced, no kids, summer home. Dad's been pushing me to meet him. That was enough. I left without saying goodbye, didn't even look for Jenna, just walked out. I texted Jenna. One of the kids had a crisis, had to bounce. Tell Zach I'm sorry. Blocked Natalie. Drove home, sat alone in the dark. Deleted social media, took personal leave from the center. Cut contact with everyone but Jenna, who showed up the next morning with pizza. You look like a corpse, she said. I told her everything. She didn't interrupt, a miracle if you know her. That two-faced snake, she muttered when I finished, snatching her phone. I'm calling her. I took it from her. No point, I'm done. Done how? No explaining, no arguing. Just gone. Jenna stared, then nodded. Ghost mode, respect. Texts came in, emails, calls from unknown numbers. Natalie realized I blocked her and even emailed my job account. I ignored everything. She came to my place. I watched her cry from the peephole and left her there for hours. Jenna was proud. You're ice cold. It's not cold, I said. Just done. Weeks passed. I was healing. Then one day I came home from groceries and found an ultrasound photo pinned to my door with a note. We need to talk. I'm 8 weeks along. Please call. A baby. Was it even real? I remembered she was in D.C. the week that conception supposedly happened. I called her. Logan, she said, sounding panicked. You got the photo? Is it real? Yes, I wouldn't lie about something like this. I'm pregnant. We're having a baby. When did this happen? You were in D.C. at the time. It's just an estimate, she replied quickly. Doctor said 6 to 10 weeks. My voice remained calm. Even so, not my concern. What? Of course it is. If I'm pregnant, it's your business. Well, at the party you made it clear I'm not marriage material, just a phase. More silence. You heard that, she whispered. Logan, I didn't mean it. I was just trying to fit in. No, Natalie. I don't know how those people are. I coach street kids, remember? Please, let's meet. I have something to show you, something real. Against my better judgment, I agreed, just for closure. She looked disheveled when I saw her. No makeup, simple clothes. She slid me coffee. I've been keeping this journal for over a year, she said. I want you to read some entries. She handed over a leather-bound book. The pages were filled with heartfelt notes about our dates, the kids I coached, a future together. This is the real me, she said softly. Not the girl you heard that night. I stared at her. Why say those things if you didn't mean them? Because I'm scared, she admitted. Because my father's voice is always louder than mine. And the ultrasound? It's real. Dates might be off, but I swear I'm pregnant. I need time, I said. Just don't disappear again, okay? There's a baby now. Later, I called Zach, asked if Natalie said anything after I left. She mocked you, he confessed. Your voice, your job, hung on some guy in a tailored suit. They left together. That's when it clicked. Why would she write all this in a journal if she had zero respect for me? It felt too perfect. I called Jenna. You ever see Natalie with a journal? Never, she said, and I've dug through her bag for her stuff. So it's fake. Logan, I could make that journal in 48 hours. She's scrambling because she's scared. A knock interrupted us. Edward. With 2 lawyers, he didn't wait for an invite, just barged in. We're here to discuss arrangements, he said. One of the suits added, given your income, we believe setting up legal agreements for support would be wise. I almost laughed. And if I refuse? Edward replied, legal battles are costly, might affect your job, your background. I smirked. Let me make this easy, paternity test. They objected. I didn't budge. She was in D.C. when conception happened. I've got receipts. Jenna entered. Am I late to the lawyer party? Private discussion, one muttered. Cool, I'm his legal counsel. You're a lawyer? Nope, just someone who hates watching good guys get steamrolled by entitled rich folks. They tried to bluff. We didn't blink. Paternity test, independent lab, tomorrow, I said. They left reluctantly. Edward turned back. If it's yours, you'll step up. Of course, I said calmly. If the test confirmed what I already knew, I wasn't the father. Oddly, I didn't feel vindicated, just empty. 2 years wasted on someone who saw me as a curiosity. Edward called me. Let's meet. No lawyers. We met in a park. He looked older. She confirmed it. The father is Brandon Ellis, one of my firm's associates. I nearly laughed. At the party, she called him a senior partner. She lied. I owe you an apology, Logan. Apology accepted. Take care of your grandkid. What will you do now? Move on. And I did, use the ring money to rent a small space. Jenna and I launched our own youth academy. That NBA kid, he helped sponsor us. Funding, gear, press, everything followed. You don't get mad, Jenna said. You get better. I bought my dream car, a midnight blue Jeep, first new vehicle I ever owned. Ran into Natalie at the store. Beat up Honda, baby in tow. She tried to talk, said her dad disowned her, couldn't pay rent. That's rough, I said, and walked away. Cold as ever, Jenna joked later. Not cold, I replied. Just done. Then Edward called again, wanted to fund scholarships through our academy, wrote a generous check. No strings, he said, just recognizing what matters. We're now expanding. Parents from all over enrolling their kids. Even the wealthy ones. You're turning into a legend, Jenna teased. I'm not trying to be one, I said, just doing what I love. Last night I saw Natalie again, waiting tables. We made eye contact. I nodded, she understood. Stood there staring at the flickering screen. The static faded and the message reappeared again, same voice, same coordinates. Except this time there was an extra whisper behind her voice. A male voice. Low, guttural, and just one word. Run, I jolted backward, nearly dropping the phone. My mind was racing. Coordinates again, I knew I couldn't ignore them. I copied the location into my GPS. It led me to a remote cabin deep in the woods, about 2 hours away. I didn't stop to pack or call anyone. This was the closest I'd ever been to understanding what was happening. As I drove, I kept hearing the voicemail in my head. Her scream, the panic, the strange clarity in her voice when she said my name. She wasn't just calling for help. She was warning me. When I arrived at the cabin, it was nearly sunset. The place was old, abandoned-looking, surrounded by dense trees. My phone buzzed again, battery low. Figures, I grabbed a flashlight and stepped out. The cabin door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open and immediately noticed the dust, thick and undisturbed, except for one set of footprints leading inside. Fresh ones. I followed them. Inside, the cabin was empty, but on the wooden floor was a circle made of old rope, feathers, and black stones. In the center, an old cassette recorder. My name was carved into the side. I pressed play. Her voice again. You're close, you're doing what I couldn't, don't trust the man in the mirror. Before I could process that, I heard a loud thud upstairs. Flashlight trembling, I crept up the stairs. Each step creaked under my weight. The top hallway was narrow, and at the end was a broken mirror, jagged, cracked, but not reflecting me. Instead, it showed her, my wife, standing behind me. I turned instantly. No one. But in the mirror, she raised her hand slowly and pointed to the door at the end of the hallway. I walked to it, heart pounding, hand trembling as I reached for the knob. Behind the door, I heard whispers. Familiar voices. I opened it and saw our old bedroom, exactly as it was the night she died. Photos, clothes, her scent, and on the bed, an old journal. I opened it, turned the brittle pages of the journal slowly, each one stained with tears and something darker, maybe ink, maybe blood. Her handwriting was unmistakable, elegant but urgent. Page 2, they told me it was just a dream, the man in the mirror, the ticking clock, the loop, but it's real, he's real, and he wants you next. A chill ran down my spine. The man in the mirror, that cracked glass hadn't shown my reflection, it had shown her. Was this some kind of spiritual trap? Was I too deep already? I flipped to the next page. Page 3, every year on the anniversary, the barrier weakens. That's when he lets the message through, he lets me speak, but it takes something in return. My throat dried up. What had it taken from her? What would it take from me? Suddenly, the cassette recorder downstairs started playing again on its own. He's here. The whisper didn't come from the speaker. It came from behind me. I spun around, flashlight beam jittering across the room. Nothing. But the mirror, the cracked one at the end of the hallway, now showed two figures. Me and a tall man in a long coat, no face. Just static where features should be, standing directly behind me. I ran, down the stairs, past the strange circle, through the trees to my car. I didn't look back. I couldn't. My brain told me if I did, I might not leave at all. The car engine stalled. I kept turning the key. Nothing, nothing. Then a soft tap on the window. I turned slowly. It was her. My wife. She wasn't pale. She wasn't ghostly. She looked alive. Tears welled in her eyes. She mouthed, "Don't go home. He's waiting there." Then she vanished. The engine roared to life. I drove to a motel 40 miles away, shaking the entire time. When I reached the room, I locked every door and sat in the corner, holding her journal like a Bible. I flipped to the final page. Page 17. You'll find the truth where we started, our first kiss, our secret, it's buried there. The box, the mirror, the name. I knew what she meant, the lake, the spot where I proposed. We used to go there every July, and one summer we'd buried a small-time capsule under the bench by the dock just for fun. Letters, tokens, a photo. Was it still there? I had to find out. The next morning the lake was calm, too calm. A layer of mist hovered over the water like breath. I found the bench, same as always, worn by time. I dug underneath, hands scraping rock and dirt. Then metal, a small tin box. I pulled it out and opened it. Everything we'd buried was still inside, except now there was something new. A mirror. Small, handheld, cracked. Taped to the back was a note. "Break the mirror and you break the loop, but he won't go quietly." I raised it in my hand. My own reflection stared back until it didn't. The man was there again, but now I could see his face, and it was me. A twisted, older version, cold, hollow, smiling, he spoke from the glass. "You followed the clues, you brought me back, now you get to rest." I threw the mirror onto the rocks. It shattered into pieces. The world around me seemed to shake like an earthquake or a scream no one could hear. And then silence, real silence. The first in 2 years. That night back in my apartment, I didn't get a voicemail. No screams, no static. No coordinates, just peace. And yet, deep down, I knew something had changed. Because when I passed my hallway mirror,